never see each other, never even know
Mm-hmm.
each other exist
Right.
through the whole movie. Like, they only interact with some of their, like, henchmen or secondary characters. But in the
Right.
movie, there's only actually one scene where they're both in it, but they never actually see each other. One goes into an elevator right as the other comes out of an elevator to
Right.
go into the docking bay. And that's it. Like, they never actually see each other. And it's like, that is such beautiful storytelling that the villain and the hero never actually see each other, and yet they are constantly at odds with each other, competing, even though they never actually see each other. I thought that was brilliant filmmaking.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting story. It's very 90s.
Very 90s.
It's very 90s, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but the way it's told is it's indicative of its era for sure.
Mm-hmm. Especially its music. It's such
Oh my God.
90s interpretation of the future music.
Yes, it really is. When I was a kid, one of the dance studios I was at had the like most advanced ballet students do a routine to the Divas song that gets all future techno opera at the one point.
Yeah.
And I definitely knew that music before I'd seen the movie. It's crazy.
I love that song.
It's a good song. It's just crazy.
It is super crazy. What's even crazier, I'll see if I can find it, but there's a opera singer who actually sang it. Now, she couldn't do like the entire thing note for note
Sure.
because it is very much
Can't do it at
synthesized.
speed. Yeah,
Yeah.
the speed of it isn't. It's impossible.
It's impossible. But like, she actually is able to hit the high notes as well as the low notes, and it's very impressive watching a human voice do
It's
what
insane.
the quote unquote alien synthesizer voice does in the movie.
I mean,
Yeah.
how many octaves must that be?
I think it was at least 3.
Oh,
might-
3 is
or
small potatoes for
might have
people
been.
with
I don't
crazy range. She must have like 5 octaves.
I don't know. All I know is that I could not do it.
No, neither could I.
Yeah, it
Impressive.
was so impressive. Speaking of impressive, the graphics.
Yeah, I was noticing that too.
This was the era right before CG started to really catch on. And so there's one or two scenes, mainly with the bad guy aliens, where their faces revert to their normal or they change into a disguise, where the CG is very apparent and very Play-Doh-y,
Sure.
and it's kind of off. But like, other than that, there's so much model work and miniature work in it that it
Yeah,
just
it-
looks stunning.
Listen, this week I watched the animated Disney Hunchback of Notre Dame film,
Uh-huh.
which I don't do often, and they used some CG in that. It came out 1 year before this movie, and the CG in that is so bad.
Really?
I have no idea how I didn't notice it as a kid. It's the finale scene where he's sweeping down out of Notre Dame onto the crowds, and the crowds are all CG. And they're so bad. Like, go watch that scene. It's insane. So, like, the quality they achieved in the CG in this movie, which are much more complicated than a simple crowd,
Mm-hmm.
are just insane compared to that.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
I mean,
1 year later.
1 year. Well, it's amazing. You think about like modern movies too, though. Like, you look at a movie from 2015 to a movie coming out today, and the CG is getting better and better. Like, looking at, I think Pixar is that perfect example. Just watching their progression of their CG films and just seeing how good they're getting, to the point where, like I was saying in the Onward episode, where there was points where, like, if you would have shown me that little clip and told me that this was coming from a new live action movie coming out, I would have believed you.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear that Onward is already for sale digitally and will be on Disney Plus April 3rd.
I am so excited for that.
So anyone who wants to listen to our last episode but hasn't been able to because of theaters and all that stuff happening, you can buy the movie, or if you have Disney Plus, just wait a week and it'll be there.
Yeah, I think also, I know I've got Xfinity, Comcast.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting it on the free stream.
That's awesome.
So if you have Xfinity, you can stream it for free, I think that same day. So I think it's April 3rd or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is worth the watch. I'm going to buy it.
I already have.
Well, go listen to our episode. It is a very good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also, with, going back to Fifth Element, the CG was impressive, but it also, there were so many really cool practical effects too.
Yeah, there were.
The Monochuan things, I love it.
Yeah. They're fun design.
It's such a Jim Henson design. Like, they feel like they could be in the Dark Crystal.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder did Brian Froud have any involvement in the design of this movie? That's entirely possible.
Let me look. Production, Dan Will. Art direction was Ira Guilford, Ron Gress, Michael Lamont, Jim Morhaime, Kevin Phipps. Set decoration was Maggie Gray, Anna Pinnock. Who am I looking for?
I can't remember. You just listed so many names. Sorry. Brian Froud.
Brian Froud.
I don't think he's involved. He's a bit of a bigger name to have been lost this far down on the lists, but it definitely could have been, inspired by his work, because it does look a lot like something you would have found in the Dark Crystal or even Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Both of the Jim Henson projects he collaborated on.
I can't remember where I saw it, but I remember watching a behind the scenes of The Fifth Element. It might have been on the DVD that I had, but it was one of the art department guys talking about the Monochuan, about the wiggle of their head, in that the head isn't actually a head. It's the Monochuan are actually like a snail, and they're a snail inside that shell. And if you look at their ship, it looks like a mollusk.
Yeah.
And so it kind of makes sense in a way. But they're a snail inside, and the head, they essentially put it on there to help other, like, alien creatures find something to focus on.
Sure.
And so it's more of like an arm that has a face rather than their head. And
Excellent.
That's how they kill the archaeologist. It's a gun too. It's a weapon. Like, it's
right.
Like, I just found that very fascinating for characters that are on the screen for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that they put that much thought into their design and their history. And I think that's every aspect of it. This world they build, this future New York and Fhloston Paradise, like, everything feels lived in, like, it feels real, and that's kind of the pitfall of, like, the prequel Star Wars, is all of it felt too new.
Sure.
And a lot of, sci-fi feels like that. Star Trek, if it wasn't so philosophical, the shows weren't so philosophical, I would have a hard time believing it because it's so clean,
Sure.
But yeah, this world just feels so lived in, and it just feels real. Like, it could be a real future New York.
Well, even from tiny things like the license points.
Yeah.
Just, mentioned a few times casually to get the plot rolling, but they don't explain it. It's just a part of the world. You just go with it.
Well, it's that whole concept that seems to be so rare nowadays of the show, don't tell. Show the world. Don't tell it. This movie doesn't open with a text crawl, you know. As much as I love Star Wars,
Right.
it doesn't open with a text crawl, you know. It just throws you into the world, and it respects the watcher, the viewer, to enough to, wow, my words are just failing right now. It has enough respect for its viewers to think that they'll get it.
Right.
That they'll get it through context. And I think that's why I love it so much. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, there's one thing in this movie that I find absolutely ridiculous and yet iconic for this movie that I don't think many people get.
Okay.
And that's the Fifth Element stutter. Every time a character other than the main characters gets into a stressful situation, they stutter like a madman. Like, it's the weirdest thing, and it's only in this movie that I see it. No other Luc Besson movies do it. But, like, there's, like, at the beginning with Luke Perry's character, which, random tangent, why the fuck did Luke Perry get a opening title crawl for being in it for what? 4 minutes?
Yeah.
The opening 4 minutes, and he gets... Did he get a name before Mila Jovovich?
I don't even remember.
Like, did they, like, advertise that he's in this movie for some reason? Like, why is he so high up in the, like, title, the opening title crawl? Like, it just seems so bizarre. Anyways, but he does the stutter, trying to think, like, 5 or 6 characters do the, but we have to do this, you know, like, it's a very exasperated stutter, and it's very pronounced, and it's just so weird, but I love it, but it's weird.
Yeah, this movie is camp as hell.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was the one. They even have Ian Holm do it. Where it's a no. If there's a bomb, all the alarms will be going off because these things have bomb detectors. Woo! Like, it's a really funny moment. But even Ian Holm's character stutters in it. There are so many stutters. But it's just very interesting. I guess he was just really feeling... Luc Besson was really feeling the stutter when he was doing the screenplay.
The stutter.
It's just so strange. Ugh. So, one final thing on the realism of the world. I loved the mobile Thai restaurant. Like the boat.
The character is one of the few things in the film that hasn't aged terribly well, but I think he would have aged well had they foregone the accent.
Yeah.
Because he's got a pretty not great,
very
like, stereotypical accent.
Yeah.
But I think the character would have done fine age-wise, like would have aged well had it been not been for the accent.
Yeah. I do love
But the concept of the restaurant is just awesome.
I do love I'll bet you lunch if it's good news. It doesn't rain every day. And he opens it up, it's like, you're fired! It's like, oh.
Yeah.
So good.
Indeed.
Did you have any final thoughts before we move on?
If you look at the costuming these poor actors had to wear, it's a miracle that they got the performances they did. Because they have so many people with, like, latex directly on their skin or, like, horrifying materials that look great, but are hell to wear. Good for them.
Good old Chris Tucker in his skin-tight leopard print bodysuit.
Oh, I'm sure that was perfectly comfortable. I'm more worried about
leopard print onesie.
Gary Oldman in his latex pinstripe suit and like glued on hair shield. It's more what I'm thinking, but
there was